Hello everyone, I welcome you all in the fifth lecture on topic percentage, where we will learn another simple yet important concept, successive percentage change rule, which is not only important in percentage, but also you will find the application of the concept in upcoming topics. Therefore, let us try to understand the concept thoroughly as it holds a good importance. So that's the agenda. Let's move forward. So let's begin our discussion by understanding what successive percentage change is. And to understand this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick easy set of values. I'll perform some operations on it, and then I'll show you what this concept is all about. Okay, so let's begin with an easy value 100. So if I ask you what will happen if I increase this number by 20%, तो हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, हम इस number 100 को 20% से इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं. तुम बोलोगे सर अगर हम नंबर को 20% से इंक्रीज करेंगे तो 20% of 100 is 20 and therefore the value will become 120 if I increase my number 100 by 20%. Okay, let's perform one more operation. Now the way I'm performing operation here, you should realize one thing, that this next operation is being performed just after the end of first operation. And that is why I would say that these two operations are successive in nature. And this time, let us increase the number by 30%. So to increase 120 by 30%, what I'm going to do, I'll first calculate 30% of 120. So if I ask you, what is 30% of 120? You would say, sir, 30% of 120 is 36. And if I add 36 to number 120, I'll get my answer as 156. And here comes the important question. Find out overall percentage change in the number. What I'm trying to calculate? I'm trying to calculate overall percentage change in the number. Now to calculate the change, what you are going to do, you are going to compare the final value of number with respect to initial number. The initial value of the number was 100, and after the two successive changes of 20% and 30% respectively, the value of the number changed to 156. That is something which I need to realize. So what is the final value of the number after the two successive changes? It's 156. Now look at the change. In what direction the change is happening? Is it happening in a positive direction or negative direction? You would say, sir, क्योंकि number 100 से 156 हो गया है, तो number में increase हुआ है. How much increase? So to find out increase, you will find the difference between initial and final value. You would say, sir, an increase of 56. Since it is an increase, I'm going to use a positive sign. So let's write down 56 in the numerator. The number is increased by 56. Now please answer the second question. What number is increased by 56? You would say, sir, initial value. Always the initial value. And then in order to convert this fraction in terms of percentage, what we do, we have learned this, multiply a given fraction by 100. So after doing calculation, I get to know, okay, the overall percentage change in the number is how much? It's 56%. Now another thing which I want you to realize here is, if I had started with a different value, let's say 200, and performed the same two operations. What two operations? An increase of 20% followed by another increase of 30%. My answer of overall percentage change would have remained same, 56%. So let us cross verify the statement here. An increase of 20%. Let's do this operation first. So for that, you will calculate 20% of 200 first. What is 20% of 200? You would say, sir, it's 40. And therefore, the number will become 240. What is the second operation? An increase of 30%. So let's increase this value by 30% now. What is 30% of 240? You would say, sir, 30% of 240 is 72. So I'm going to increase this number by 72, right? And therefore, the value will become 312. And now let's try to answer the same question. What question? What is the overall percentage change in the value? What is the overall percentage change in the value? And to do that, what we are going to do, we are going to compare the final value of the number with initial value. We are going to compare the final value of the number with initial value, right? Now, if I look at the change, the way change is happening, the number was 200 and then it changed to 312. So what kind of change we are looking at? You would say, sir, we are looking at a positive change. And therefore, I'm going to calculate percentage increase here. Now, to calculate percentage increase, the first step is, let's find the difference. What is the difference? The difference is 112. Since it's an increase, you will use a positive sign. The number is increased by 112. Which number is increased by 112? You would say, sir, the initial number 200, and therefore it's going to be the value of denominator or the value of base. And then to convert a fraction in terms of percentage, what we do? We multiply by 100. And once I multiply this thing by 100, let's simplify. You get to know that I'm getting the same answer, 56%. So what is the important learning from here? The important learning is my answer of overall percentage change is never dependent on the initial values. मेरा सक्सेसिव परसेंटेज चेंज का आंसर कभी भी इनिशियल वैल्यूज पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है. वो किस पे डिपेंडेंट है? इट इज ओनली डिपेंडेंट ऑन द वैल्यूज ऑफ सक्सेसिव परसेंटेज चेंज. तो जब तक मैं ये सक्सेसिव परसेंटेज चेंज की वैल्यूज को चेंज नहीं करूंगा, माय आंसर ऑफ ओवरऑल परसेंटेज चेंज विल रिमेन अनचेंज्ड. मेरा आंसर कभी भी चेंज नहीं होगा जब तक ये सक्सेसिव ऑपरेशंस की वैल्यू 20% एंड 30% है. और जैसे ही हमको ये समझ में आता है, so from now on what we can do, we can use a shortcut. That shortcut is nothing but a formula of successive percentage change. What is the formula? A plus B plus A into B upon 100 equals to C. So first thing, let's understand what are A, B and C in the formula. So in this formula, A and B are the values of successive percentage change. A and B are the values of successive percentage change operations. So if I ask you what are A and B in this setup, you would say, sir, the value of A is going to be plus 20% and the value of B is going to be plus 30. Clear? And then what is C in the formula? You would say, sir, C gives us the answer of overall change in terms of percentage. So let's apply this formula. What is the value of A? You would say, sir, the value of A is plus 20. What is the value of B? You would say, sir, the value of B is plus 30. Let's plug in the two values here. Now, some of you must be thinking, sir, why you're not using percentage sign? Because in this complete formula, we are dealing in percentage. Therefore, I'm just skipping the percentage sign. Eventually, I'll put the percentage sign back. But for now, let's just use the values. Increase of 20% followed by an increase of 30%. So 20 plus 30 plus 20 into 30 divided by 100 equals to C. Zeros will be removed. What is 20 plus 30? It's 50. Plus 2 into 3 is 6. So from here, you get to know that the answer of overall change, what was C? C is the answer of overall change. The answer of overall change is 56. So let me write down this value in this manner, right? Since no sign is mentioned, by default, you would use a positive sign. So someone asks you, what is the overall percentage change in the number? If a number is first increased by 20% followed by another increase of 30%, by using the formula, you would directly say 56%. Since every value was in terms of percentage, is A was in terms of percentage, second operation was in terms of percentage, so I can bring back the percentage sign. So what is the final answer? The final answer of overall change is 56% increase. Plus sign indicates it's an increase. Negative sign will indicate it's a decrease. So I hope you were able to understand the formula and how to apply it in a successive setup. Now, to give you the confidence, let us discuss few examples based on this particular concept. Look at the first question. A number is first increased by 20% followed by a decrease of 25%. Find the overall percentage change in the number. So let me first show you what we are given with. So there was a number which was first increased by 20%, followed by a decrease of 25%. Since it's a decrease of 25, I'm going to use a negative sign in front of it. Another thing that you should note down, if you look at the two changes are being performed one after another. So can I say it's a successive change? Yes. And therefore, to answer this question, I can apply successive percentage change rule here. And to apply it, one way is we can use the formula. What is the formula? The formula is A plus B plus A into B upon 100 equals to C. Let us define the variables of this formula. So if you look at this setup, what we are given with? We are given with the values of successive changes. So can I say, as per this formula, we are given with the values of A and B. And what is C? C will give you the answer of overall change in the number. C will give you the answer in terms of overall change. And that is what I have to calculate, isn't it? So let's apply the formula now. What is the value of A? The value of A, it's an increase of 20%. What's the value of B? It's a decrease of 25%. Let's plug in the value. Plus 20 minus 25. Now focus here. मैं एक पॉजिटिव वैल्यू को जब एक नेगेटिव वैल्यू से मल्टीप्लाई करता हूं तो मेरा जो फाइनल रिजल्टेंट आता है वो नेगेटिव ही आएगा, और इसीलिए मैं यहाँ पे नेगेटिव साइन यूज करूंगा. सो 20 into 25 divide by 100 equals to C. Now let's do the calculation. Plus 20 minus 25, it will be minus 5. 21 25 5 1 5 5. Again you will get a 5 here with a negative sign. So the answer of C is going to be minus 10. If someone asks you what is the overall effect or what is the cumulative effect of these two changes, an increase of 20% followed by a decrease of 25%, you would say, sir, the cumulative effect of these two changes would be a decrease of 10%, and that is the answer of my question. What is the overall change in the number? A decrease of 10%. Now if you have understood this approach, I want you to apply this same approach in the second question. And for that, what you can do, you can just pause this video for 2 minutes and then listen to my solution. So what is given in the second question? A number is first increased by 20% followed by another change, but again this change is a reduction of 16.66%. Since it's exactly similar to the last one, so I can again apply the same concept of successive percentage change. And to apply it, one of the way is formula, right? What is the formula? A plus B plus A into B upon 100 equals to C, where A and B represents the values of successive percentage change. So if you look at the setup, and if I ask you what are the values of successive percentage change, you would say, sir, these are the two values of successive percentage change, where the value of A is plus 20 while the value of B is minus 16.66. So if I try to use these values, the value of A is plus 20 while the value of B is minus 16.66. So if I plug in these values, 20 minus 16.66, a positive number when multiplied with a negative number, I'll get my result with a negative sign only. So I'll use negative sign, right? So 20 into 16.66 divided by 100. Now, when I look at this expression, solving this expression is not an easy task, right? Because here I can see some decimal values, and therefore it is not the right way of solving this question. So what are the changes which I have to make? Whenever I'm given with decimal percentage value, what we chose to do, we chose to use their fractional values, and that is same I'm going to do here. You would say the value of A is plus 20. Let me write down percentage sign as well. The value of B, the second operation, is 16.66%. So what I'm suggesting now, whenever you are given with decimal percentage value, you can use their fractional equivalent in order to do calculation easily. ठीक है, तो 16.66% का रेसिप्रोकल क्या होता है? 1/6, और आगे साइन क्या है? माइनस, तो कीप साइन एज इट इज. 20% का रेसिप्रोकल क्या होता है? 1/5. एंड साइन क्या है आगे, प्लस, तो प्लस 1/5. And now again I'll apply the same formula. What formula? A plus B plus A into B upon 100 equals to C. Now some of you must be thinking, sir, why you haven't written 100 in the denominator this time? Because I have changed the percentage values into fractional form. और जब भी मैं ऐसा करूंगा, मुझे फॉर्मूले में एक चेंज करना है. मुझे क्या चेंज करना है? जो फॉर्मूले में 100 है ना, ये मैं अब नहीं यूज करूंगा. ठीक है, तो जब भी हम फ्रैक्शनल वैल्यूज यूज करेंगे, हमको एक चीज दिमाग में रखनी है, क्या? कि हम 100 फॉर्मूले में यूज नहीं करेंगे. लेट्स यूज दीज वैल्यूज इन द फॉर्मूला नाउ. A वैल्यू इज 1/5, B इज 1/6. अगेन मैं एक पॉजिटिव नंबर को एक नेगेटिव नंबर से मल्टीप्लाई कर रहा हूं, तो मेरा फाइनल आंसर तो नेगेटिव ही आएगा. तो 1/5 into 1/6, and this in turns will give you the answer of C. Okay, C is the overall change. Let's simplify. 1/5, 1/6, if you multiply, it's 1/30. So if you look at the denominators 5, 6 and 30, let's take the LCM. It's 30 only. Once you take the LCM, 5 into what? 6. 6 into what? 5. 30 into what? 1. So let's write 1. And when you solve this thing comes out to be 6 minus 5, 0. 0 out of 30. So value of C is going to be 0 upon 30. 0 upon 30, it's a fractional value. So if I ask you what is 0 upon 30, you would say 0 upon 30 is 0 only. So what is the answer of overall change? I'm getting the answer of overall change as 0. 0 means no change in the number. So if you first increase a number by 20%, followed by a decrease of 16.66%, the number is not going to change at all. I hope I'm clear on this. Now, one thing which I want you to note down, if you look at the value of C, I'm getting the value of C in fractional terms. Why in fractional terms? Because the values which I have used for A and B, they were also in fractional form. And therefore, the answer of C will also come in the same form. Fractional value 0 represent which percentage? What is 0 in terms of percentage? It's going to be 0% only. So if I increase a number by 20% followed by a decrease of 16.66%, there is going to be no change in the number. The number will remain same. That is what this answer is indicating. Now, after listening to the solution, some of you might be feeling the purpose of this formula was to make our life easy, but the way things have been turned out here, it's looking difficult. And therefore, now we are going to learn another method to apply the concept of successive percentage change. So let us do one thing to understand this second method of applying successive percentage change. Let's pick the same data set, the data set which we had used initially to understand the concept. A number is first increased by 20%, followed by an increase of 30%, right? This time, let's assume the value of the number as a variable. Let's call that variable as I. So I representing the initial value of number. And after the two successive changes, let's say the value of the number gets changed to F. F is representing the final value of the number. Now let us try to realize these two changes in the form of mathematical expression. What I'm trying to tell you, if I ask you what will be the value of this variable I after this first operation, you would say, sir, the value of I, since I'm increasing it by 20%, if I increase something by 20%, multiplication factor turns out to be 120 by 100. I hope you can recall the concept. So after the first operation, an increase of 20%, the value I will change to I into 120 upon 100. And in this manner, I'll reach at this point. So if someone asks you what is the value of I after the first operation, you would say, sir, the value of this number would be I into 120 upon 100. We have one more operation here. The second operation, increase of 30%. What I'm going to increase? I'm going to increase this complete value. Increase this complete value by 30%. Now, if I increase something by 30%, the multiplication factor turns out to be 130 by 100. So I'll multiply this complete thing by 130 by 100. And this is how I'll reach at this point. What is the name of this point? The name of this point is F, the final value. So if you try to simplify this, you would realize that What I can do, I can take variables to one side. So let me take this variable I to the other side. So if I do so, I'll get this generalization, f upon I, final upon initial value. And let's try to simplify. Zeros will get cancelled. What is 12 into 13? 12 into 13 is 156. Divide by 100. Now what this ratio represent if initial value of the number was 100, the final value of the number after applying these two operations is going to be 156. So the way value is changing, the initial value was 100 as per this ratio, and if you look at the final value, it is 156. If you try to look at the change, it's a positive change. And since it's a positive change, again, I'm going to calculate percentage increase. Percentage increase. How to calculate percentage increase? First, I'm going to write down the difference in the numerator. Since I'm calculating increase, I'll use a positive sign. Increase of 56 over what value? Over initial value 100. And then to find out your answer in terms of percentage, we'll multiply this thing by 100 and see what is the answer. We are getting the same answer, an increase of 56% without applying any formula, without assuming any values. And this approach is called as multiplication factor approach. Now let me conclude this approach for you. Every time you don't need to make this complete structure and write down the expressions in this form. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to look at the values of successive percentage change. What is the first change? You would say, sir, the first change is an increase of 20%. For a change, you have to first write down multiplication factor. Now, if I increase something by 20%, the multiplication factor value is going to be 120 by 100, right? Let's realize the second change. In the second change, I'm again increasing a number, but by 30%. So what is the multiplication factor for this change? It's going to be 130 by 100. Once you have calculated the values of multiplication factor, finding out answer of this question is very easy. What you have to do now, you just need to write down these two operations. The first operation, an increase of 20%, followed by means multiplication sign, an increase of 30%. And every time when you solve this, you will get the ratio in this form, final upon initial. So this is something which you are supposed to do at the time of examination. And when you solve this, zeros will get cancelled. 12 into 13 is 156 upon 100. And this will give you the answer as 56%. Right? I hope you can calculate here. An increase of 56. Compare the final value of number with initial value. You would say initially the number was 100 and then it is increased to 156. So there is an increase of 56. An increase of 56 over what value? Over 100. And then to convert, we'll multiply it by 100. And this will return the same answer, 56% increase. Right? So let us see now how this multiplication factor approach is going to help us to find out the answer of last question in an easy manner. So let's try solving this question with the second approach now. What is the question? A number is first increased by 20% followed by a decrease of 16.66%. Since there is a space constraint here, let us do one thing. Let's understand the working of second approach in another page. Okay, what was the question? A number is increased by 20% followed by a decrease of 16.66%. Now, we'll try to solve this question by using the second approach, multiplication factor approach. In multiplication factor, the first step is to convert the two successive operations or any number of successive operations in the form of multiplication factor. Right? So if I ask you, what will be the multiplication factor if I increase something by 20%? You would say, sir, multiplication factor is going to be 120 upon 100. Let's realize the second change. I'm decreasing a value by 16.66%. So let's convert 16.66% decrease in the form of multiplication factor. Now guys, I want you to recall, in case of decimal percentage change or in case of decimal percentages, what we do? We tend to use their fractional equivalents. What is the fractional equivalent of 16.66? It's 1 by 6. What is the operation? A decrease of 1 by 6. So I'm going to reduce 1 by 6 from 1. What is 1 minus 1 by 6? You would say, sir, it is 5 by 6. And this is how we convert a decimal percentage value in the form of multiplication factor. Now, this is something which we had already discussed in our third lecture. So if you haven't watched that session, I would advise you to watch that session first. Now, let's try to find out the answer. First change, an increase of 20%, followed by a decrease of 16.66%. Let's try to simplify. And when I solve this, I'll get my answer in this form, final upon initial. I'll get the ratio of final and initial value. So let's cancel zeros. 6, 1, 6, 2. 5, 1, 5, 2. This 2 will cancel, numerators 2. And then you would realize that I'm getting the ratio for final to initial as 1:1. Now please look at the ratio carefully. The initial value as per this ratio is 1, and after the two successive changes, this value will remain same. So if you try to find out percentage increase or decrease, you would say, sir, there is no change. No change means in numerator, you are going to write down 0. A change of 0 over initial value. What is the initial value? 1. And what is 0 upon 1 in terms of percentage? You would say 0%. So can you see that I'm getting the same answer? But this time, the kind of effort which I have put in, it is much more less than the previous approach, isn't it? And that is the beauty of this particular approach. Now, after listening to this approach, there might be some students who might be thinking, sir, when to use which approach? So let me clarify this doubt once and for all. कभी भी अगर क्वेश्चन में मेरे पास परसेंटेज वैल्यूज, लुक एट द परसेंटेज वैल्यूज इन द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, अगर परसेंटेज वैल्यूज होल नंबर्स में गिवन है तो उस केस में हम लोग फॉर्मूला यूज करेंगे, क्लियर? बट अगर क्वेश्चन में दी गई परसेंटेज वैल्यूज डेसिमल्स में है, अगर क्वेश्चन में दी गई वैल्यूज कोई भी एक वैल्यू डेसिमल फॉर्म में है, तो वहां पे वी आर गोइंग टू यूज द मल्टीप्लिकेशन फैक्टर अप्रोच. So with this, we have come to the end of the session. We will continue this concept in the next video too, as there are few things left to be discussed in the concept. So don't worry about it. But till then, take care and have a nice day.